the SJCAM 5000X Elite, the top of the line from SJCAM at the moment. Let's see how it goes.
This video has been sponsored by Enchanted Films, the premier provider of video production services.
So let's begin with the introduction. The SJCAM 5000X has a 12 megapixel Sony sensor at its heart and a Novatech chipset to drive it all. The camera comes with a whole range of features and we will be touching upon most of them as we proceed. With regards to the sensor, Sony is no stranger to this business, and their top-of-the-line Alpha series DSLRs are now a very serious contender in the marketplace. With regards to Novatech, they were in the business of making internal components for display systems and imaging systems of various description. With regards to the NTK96660, this was the same chipset that was used with the M10 Plus that we reviewed earlier, which is why some comparisons will be drawn from the other SJCAM cameras as need arises. The highlights of this camera is that it can do 4K, 2K, Full HD, slow motion, time-lapse, motion detection, circular recording, power on, auto video record, gyro stabilization. There's obviously more features, but these are some of what we will look at more closely. Okay then, let's look at the package. As it is conventional with other SJCAM products, there is a concealed security code on the side of the box. This helps protect the buyer against counterfeit. Inside the box we have a decent quantity of accessories, enough to get us started. The camera comes housed in a hard case which is advertised to go as deep as 30 meters, and that is like 10 stories deep. Moving on to the camera itself, it is in shape exactly the same as SJ5000 Plus, which may yet be exactly the same as others in the 5000 series. This in turn means that if someone owns any of the SJ5000 series camera, they can work with the same waterproof case interchangeably, and the battery of the camera is same as other SJCAM models as well. Physical properties. The lens is slightly extended at the front and we have the power button next to it. This button also works as back button in the menu system. To the left, we have micro USB port for file transfer and charging, a micro SD card slot and micro HDMI port. There are little holes for mic 2 which you need to take note of just to make sure you don't cover it by finger while holding the camera. At the back we have the LCD screen. Finally, on the right we have Wi-Fi button, up and down button and holes for speaker. At the top we have the record button or action button, and next to it we have a indication LED. And finally, at the bottom we have the battery compartment. With regards to the build quality, SJCAM brand in general so far has been good enough. The Elite is practically a mirror copy of the 5000 Plus, which is all good stuff, except the same battery compartment issue. A little bit difficult to take off if you do not have long nails, but don't worry, it's not a deal breaker. Powering it on, we get the usual SJCAM logo. I know most action cameras take 1 or 2 seconds to start. Dear manufacturer, can we please have something like this? Instant action. I'm just saying, right? First thing we have is the video mode. Then by pressing the mode button, we can cycle through the still picture mode and then to a quick setup menu or mode selection. This menu is handy to go from, let's say, video mode to slow motion mode relatively quickly. The regular menu is accessible from this quick menu as well, or by pressing the down button from the video mode. Next, we will look at the performance of the camera, but before that, just in case if you are getting married, our sponsor would like to say a few words.
Your wedding is the most special day, a celebration to remember. Immortalize your memories in a video. You want the best and nothing but the best. You want Enchanted Films to capture this precious occasion. Enchanted Films offers the flexibility to suit your individual need and has the experience to cater for all kinds of functions. Enchanted Films, the premier provider of video production.
So let's begin with the performance. First, the angle. The advertised viewing angle is nice and wide at 170 degrees. When we use the gyro or distortion correction, the field of view reduces. This is in order to allow for the correction necessary. Speaking of gyro, it works as we would expect. The gyro itself is a miniature electromechanical device, meaning it has moving parts which is used to determine how much the camera has moved. More on this subject has been covered in a different video in our channel. There is some good information there. So, for an action camera on budget, it's good. See here, the camera is mounted in the car. As I drive over bumpy road or speed humps, the camera is compensating. How we know it's working? The car is seen moving, yet the road ahead stays fairly level. With regards to low light performance, it does just okay. So if you are using this camera as a dash cam and driving at night, you have sufficient amount of details to make out what is going on. It will work just fine. If we were to compare it with the SJ5000 Plus, it falls behind a little bit. But this is only at the extreme end of things. The difference you can see is where the armchair is more visible with the 5000 Plus than the 5000X. In general, this will not be much of an issue unless you intend to do low light filming. On the other hand, I have found the dynamic range to be a bit narrow at times. Again, not a major issue on the grounds that this is a cheap action camera. But if you are wondering, let's see how it affects the image. At times we have scenes where there is a bright area and a shadow area. The camera chooses which area to compensate for. It's more like one or the other, where a DSLR can, at one point, manage both to some extent, and higher-end cameras are getting better at it to the point of HDR videos. That is a separate topic altogether, and this issue I'm talking about is not something to be put off by at this price point. And finally, let's look at the resolution and their respective quality. First, the 4K. I'll need to explain something here. The resolution used for this mode is 2880 by 2160, which has an aspect ratio of 4:3, but most of our displays are 16 by 9 these days. So what SJCAM did is they multiplied the pixel width for rendering by 1.33 to make the video, when played, appear wider. This was picked up by the video editor I'm using. If we restore the pixel proportion to square, a video that looks like this becomes this. So 4K, or rather UHD as others may call it, is 3840 by 2160. That would have been the 4K resolution most would have expected. While we have some kind of high resolution video that SJCAM calls 4K, I'll call it fail. Next is 2K, or 2560 by 1440 at 30 frames per second. This works well. The video that you are watching online has been uploaded to full HD, so some compression will take place from this resolution. Also, on that note, YouTube's own video compression will cause some details to be lost. Full HD, or 1080p at 60 fps, this appears to be the best setting for the camera. The video is nice and clean, and also the 60 frames per second captures motion in good detail. The most majority of videos for understanding the nature of the camera, I have used this setting. There are two other lower resolutions as well. I'll discuss them shortly. This brings me to slow motion videos. This camera is able to do 2x, 4x and 8x, or you can record in higher frame rates and slow them down in post. Let's have a look. At 8x, the camera automatically sets the resolution to 480p, or at 4x automatically sets the resolution to 720p, and so forth. This means that the video file is ready in slow motion. With regards to quality, we will be testing things in a more controlled environment. First, 2x. Because it records in 720p, the quality is not so bad. Next, 4X. The interesting thing is that it also recorded at 720p, but a few things changed. Like the field of view is a little bit wider and the quality overall is slightly lower. Next, 8X. There are a few issues here, as we can see. The field of view just got even wider and there is vignetting. I have tried the other way as well by recording at 240 frames per second, then slowing the video in post. The result is very similar. So the 240 frames per second or 8x slow motion works, but has issues. I'm not sure if SJCAM would be able to fix it by firmware update or something like that. If it does, I'll leave an annotation mentioning it. On to other things. Time-lapse works as expected, and you can set parameters for time intervals. The camera changes exposure automatically while in time-lapse mode. Motion detection and circular recording settings do exactly what it sounds like. With regards to auto power on, I have often found it useful. While driving, all I need to do is just turn on the camera without taking my eyes off the road, and it starts to record as soon as it turns on. Handy. Wi-Fi works up to a reasonable distance, though there were some devices the app wouldn't connect with, but by most part a useful feature for those who need it. And for sake of mentioning it, the camera takes still photos too. Nothing fancy, just functional. So in conclusion, the Sony sensor is a decent thing. What the camera delivers is a reasonable and clean video, and it is suitable for most applications where an action camera is appropriate. With regards to my criticism, the 480p video has issues, and I have issues with the marketing of this product, mainly referring to the 4K aspect of things. As far as questionable marketing goes, I have slammed other manufacturers for much less. I can understand that SJCAM needs to sell their product. If we take away the 4K label from the 5000X, it hardly achieves anything over the M10 Plus, which is cheaper. Thousands and thousands of people are going to see this marketing where it says 4K, UHD and so forth. Yes, they are mentioning in the brackets interpolated and so forth. I bet you many people will be left thinking that this is a 4K camera they are buying. It is a shame that the sensor was capable of achieving 12 megapixel images at 42 frames per second. Perhaps the Novotech chip let it down? Either ways, my last words are that the camera on its own was a good product. SJCAM as manufacturer is doing well to establish a good reputation. They are proactive about anti-counterfeit, they regularly update firmware to support their products, and most of all, I am in the position to say that all my SJCAM cameras are fully functional. None of them developed any fault so far. On the other hand, SJCAM had to force the 5000X to go into the 4K market. How could it not negatively affect their reputation? So those who want the camera for its Sony sensor but don't care about the 4K, go for it. After all, the camera does a great job for 1080p. Those who want to buy this camera for 4K, fair warning, this is not a true 4K camera. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Your comments and suggestions I look forward to. Please feel free to browse our channel for other great videos. And we are also in Patreon, so your support is greatly appreciated. Hope to see you next time. Bye for now.